Have you ever stepped onto an escalator, glanced down and noticed those yellow bristles running along the sides? Most people assume they are there to clean your shoes. A little courtesy brush before you reach the next floor. It seems obvious. It seems harmless. It is completely wrong. Those bristles aren't cleaning anything. They are a safety device, one of the most important on the entire machine. And the story of why they exist involves a child's injury in the 1970s in England, a wave of mangled toddler toes in American shopping malls, and a rubber clog that became the most dangerous shoe in modern transit history. Welcome to Breakdownz, the story behind everything. Today we are finding out why escalators have brushes along the sides. To understand what the brushes actually do, you first need to understand what they are protecting you from. Look down at the edge of any escalator step. Right where the moving metal meets the stationary side panel, called the skirt, there is a gap. A small one. By law, no more than 4 millimeters wide on each side. That gap has to exist. Without it, the step and the panel would grind against each other and destroy the machine within days. Engineers can make it smaller. They cannot make it disappear. And 4 millimeters, it turns out, is more than enough to cause a catastrophe. When you put soft material against that gap, a rubber sandal sole, a foam clog, or the trailing edge of loose fabric, something dangerous happens. The material touches both surfaces at once, the moving step and the stationary wall. The step keeps moving, and the material grips both sides simultaneously, so mechanical force begins dragging it inward. What follows is what trauma surgeons call a degloving injury. The step peels skin and soft tissue away from the bone beneath it. In the worst cases, it does not stop there. This danger has existed since escalators were first commercialized in 1899. British Parliament discussed it as early as 1938. For over 40 years, nothing was done. Then, in 1979, a child was injured on a department store escalator in Birmingham, England. The details entered the public record through veteran Otis engineer Colin Craney, who documented the case in Elevator World. Birmingham's Member of Parliament, Jocelyn Cadbury, brought it to the House of Commons in 1981. Demanding mandatory accident reporting, safety switches and, crucially, skirt deflectors. The UK Health and Safety Executive responded. In 1983, British Standard BS 5656 made brushes mandatory on all new escalators, ordered from January 1, 1984 onward. The rest of the world watched and waited. But here's the thing, and this is where the story gets truly strange. By the time the UK was writing brushes into law, a company in Boulder, Colorado was about to invent the single most dangerous shoe in escalator history. Crocs launched in 2002. The children's sizes hit stores in 2007. Within months, escalator incidents across the United States were spiking in ways nobody had ever seen. Washington Metro's maintenance chief Dave Lacoste described entrapments going from relatively rare to 4 or 5 times per week over a single summer. "Would I wear them?" he said publicly. "No. And I tell my children not to wear them either." The physics were damning. Croslite was a soft resin, grippy, deformable, and just flexible enough to compress into a 4 millimeter gap. When a child placed their foot near the escalator's edge, the clog's soft toe would bridge the step and the skirt simultaneously. The step would grip it. The clog would begin to melt around the metal edge from friction heat. The foot could not be pulled free in time. On April 26, 2007, a 3-year-old girl had 2 toes partially amputated at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport. That August, 4-year-old Rory McDermott lost most of a toenail at Tyson's Galleria in Virginia. His mother's internet search that same evening found dozens of identical stories. By 2008, Crocs' own legal team had logged 236 entrapment reports worldwide. The US Consumer Product Safety Commission documented 77 incidents in just over 2 years, nearly all involving soft rubber clogs. Japan reported 65 complaints in a single 5-month window. Singapore surgeons published a study. 13 out of 17 children treated for escalator foot injuries had been wearing rubber clogs. One child lost a great toe permanently. Now, here's what makes the Crocs episode so remarkable. Crocs never recalled a single shoe. The company's chief executive officer publicly argued that escalator entrapments had been happening for 40 years before Crocs existed, which was true, but it rather missed the point. Instead of redesigning the shoe, Crocs added warning hang tags and put the problem back on the escalators. And the escalators responded. By 2008, every major safety code was moving. The European standard EN 115 had already made brushes mandatory on new installations across the continent. In the United States, the ASME safety code introduced a measurable friction test called the Step Skirt Performance Index, a numerical threshold above which any escalator must either have deflectors installed or be shut down entirely. Houston set a retrofit deadline. New York City passed a law in 2022 giving every existing escalator in the 5 boroughs until January 1st, 2025 to comply. That deadline has now passed. So how do the brushes actually work? Not by cleaning, not by sealing the gap. That is impossible. They work by warning you physically before the gap can do any damage. The bristles are angled outward from the panel at a minimum of 25 degrees. When your foot drifts toward the edge, you feel the brush first. Your brain registers the sensation, your foot moves inward, and the encounter ends there. The bristles also catch loose material, a trailing hem or a sock that has slipped down, and deflect it away from the shear zone before friction physics can begin. They are made from flame-retardant nylon, mounted inside an aluminum carrier, and engineered to absorb 1,500 newtons of force without deflecting more than 4 millimeters. One escalator engineer at Cone described it simply. They act as a barrier, gently nudging anything that gets too close away from danger. An observer on TikTok put it differently. It is like eyelashes for the escalator. That framing matters because the cleaning myth is not just wrong, it is genuinely dangerous. Cone explicitly warns that encouraging children to touch or lean on the brushes can result in fingers, hands, or clothing getting trapped. The brush is designed to be felt from the outside as a warning. The moment you treat it as a pleasant feature and lean into it, you have already gone past the point the engineers intended. And the brushes are just the beginning. Every modern escalator is a machine layered with safety features that almost no one notices. The yellow demarcation lines on the steps exist to make the boundaries visible. The toothed comb plate where the steps disappear at the top and bottom is designed to brake sacrificially before jamming, with a micro switch behind it that stops the entire unit. The handrail entry guard has a fringe of rubber fingers that halts the machine if a mitten or small hand is pulled toward the inlet. A sensor underneath the escalator's return run detects missing steps. An auxiliary brake fires automatically if the unit overspeeds or reverses direction. In 1983, Washington Metro slowed its escalators from 120 to 90 feet per minute, and injury rates fell by nearly 80%. The escalator brush is the most visible of all these systems, deliberately colorful, deliberately textured, placed precisely where your eye falls when you step on. And yet, it is the most misunderstood. That tension is the point. The designers knew it would be seen. They just needed it to be felt. So the next time you step onto an escalator and feel those bristles graze the side of your shoe, take a moment to appreciate what just happened. That was not a machine buffing your sneakers. That was 40 years of safety code, 2 continents of regulation, and the memory of a Birmingham child in 1979, all reaching out to move your foot a quarter of an inch from the edge. If you enjoyed this one, hit like, share it with someone who still thinks the brushes are for cleaning, and subscribe to Breakdownz, the story behind everything, for more massive stories hiding in plain sight. I'll see you in the next chapter.